mine either. I thought we could talk about it today.
Okay, well, good morning. I will call the meeting of the Commons meeting to order. This is Tuesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And we have Councilman Beckius and Councilman Kenny Scholl, Councilwoman Tabby Ward, County Commissioner Matt Schulte, and Councilwoman Sandra Washington. I just saw you not long ago. And Councilman Bowers, yep. Michael James Bowers.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, very good. And the Open Meetings Act is posted at the, is located on the wall at the back of the room. Very first order of business is the approval of the common meeting minutes.
Turn your mic on.
Do I have to say it all over again?
No.
Okay, very good. Okay,
I'll move approval.
okay. All right, very good. We have a motion and a second to approve the common meeting minutes for August 16th. Please call the roll.
Tammy,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Schulte,
Abstain.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
and Amundson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the item number 2 is the election of chair and vice chair.
Chairperson Amundson, I would just like to point out that pursuant to the bylaws, we do not have a quorum for this meeting, so we cannot take action to elect a new chair, vice chair, or to approve the minutes that were just approved. So I just wanted to bring that to your
my.
attention.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right, well, we will rescind that vote.
Thank you very much. I seconded it, and then I covered my mouth because I realized I should not have done that. There's no reason.
Okay, all right, we will rescind that. All right, so we will not have any election of chair and vice chair. I have been approached on continuing as chair, and I will be glad to do that. The third item of business is the organizational chart and the introduction of new leaders. Barb.
Yes, thank you for having me, and I'm very pleased to walk through our HR structure. We've been building this out and have the last pieces falling into place soon. So HR, I know I've said this many times, but I truly believe if we do a good job of taking care of our internal people, that gets paid forward out into our communities and our residents and the businesses we serve. And to that end, I really wanted to create a team that had distinct vision and focus on the different capabilities that HR should be charged with delivering, or that we are charged with delivering, so we can make sure our employees are having an outstanding experience with us. And I am going to let my team introduce themselves and then the different divisions that they lead and explain what they do. So you hear from me all the time. I want to give you an opportunity to hear from them.
Thank you. Okay.
Morning, everybody.
Good
My
morning.
name's Cody Parker. I am HRIS division leader. What that means is we use Oracle as a system, and so I'm working with whether it's payroll, benefits, anything that's HR related to ensure that Oracle is meeting our needs as far as business process, being efficient in different areas. And so that's kind of my role, is coordinating and making sure strategic plans are supported from a system standpoint. So my team, I work with Karen Urick and her team from an HR operations standpoint, and I also have an analyst reporting to me in my structure within HR. So we're holistically, we can support the HR processes and the data that other departments are bringing into us, and ensuring that people are getting their core HR information processed as efficiently as possible to support payroll and benefits and really their life cycle within the system. So really excited to also work with the IS team as well, and making sure that from a system standpoint, we have the pieces in place to really support that as well. So that is my role, and I come from many local businesses in different roles, all HR related, working in systems. So my background is I'm criminal justice major, but once I got done with that, I went straight into technology. So it's really excited for the opportunity here, and really excited to work with the team and I think that my team's perspective, it's very unique because we get to work with all areas of HR, payroll, as well as IS. So really excited.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to talk about the risk management division. So in risk management, we have really three components. One is employee safety, and our employee safety slot has been open for a very long time. We just got an accepted offer. He's moving here from Seattle, Washington, and we will not be able to welcome him actually on board till June because he wants to wait till school gets over, which I can understand. You have kids, you want to let them finish a school year, but Jason York will be joining us soon, and I'm really excited about that because our safety has been puttering along, but we really want to get that to be more robust, and he brings that background in and has been doing that for the state of Washington. He works for the state today, so excited about that hire that will be joining our risk management division. The other area we have obviously is all our liability insurance and our fleet insurance, and all of those pieces are managed there. And our last one is our leave manager, which is the workers' compensation, FMLA, ADA, those pieces, and we are interviewing for that role this week. So I'm excited that we are continuing to flesh out and build out HR, but that's the risk management division and the three components that really make up what they do and what they focus on. So
Well, over the year that you've been here, how long have you been here?
since April.
Since April. Well, over the 9 months that you've been here, you have certainly done a lot of work and changed the complexion, shall we say, of the human resources. Very good.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good morning. Nicole Gross, Total Rewards Division Leader. I have worked for City County Human Resources for 20 years. Most of that time has been spent in the Class and Compensation Division. So that's where the comp data that we'll bring to each of you for comparability when we're doing labor negotiations, items like that, or if we need to increase a pay on a classification due to market data, we'll bring those forward. And you'll see those either at a county board meeting or a city council meeting. Other areas in my division are the benefits. So we provide benefits for city and county employees and walk employees through the process of what's available to them, help them sign up during open enrollment. The other area is a police and fire pension, which is a great benefit for our city police and fire. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay,
Just
thank
we
you.
have worked with you for many years
Yes.
and done a great job. Thank you. And we just saw you not long ago.
Yes, yes. Hello, Laura Lepke. I'm the Talent Acquisition Division Leader, and our team focuses on the hiring efforts and spearheading those efforts for the city and county. Right now, we are kind of navigating a change from a standardized process for all positions from every level, every department, go through the very uniform process, and changing it to be more catered to the level of position, the type of work, and the specific needs of that department, because it is not a one-size-fits-all. We really do need to cater that process and meet with leaders and partner more throughout the whole timeline of a candidate becoming an employee, and helping out with the interview structure and the offer letter templates. That's something we had not had previously, so we're working on creating a robust library of offer letter templates that we can send out specific to each union, specific to each classification. There's going to be a lot to step into there, but something that I believe will benefit the employee greatly to have that clearly stipulated what benefits they would be opting into when they would accept a position. So, and then as well, just partnering with hiring leaders as they are navigating a very tough candidate market right now. We are having to increase our outreach efforts extremely, and this year we're looking at outreach events, social media, what that presence looks like on multiple platforms, because just waiting for people to apply for our jobs is not working as well as it had in the past with the current candidate market. So it's a change we're looking to step into more, and my team's been wonderful at coming alongside me in those efforts, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with them as well as this leadership team. They're all great. So, any questions?
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So could you tell us of some of the things that you're doing differently with different platforms or how they've been successful?
Yeah, so we did bring on a social media intern, and we want to keep a consistent content that's going out across multiple platforms. We've looked at, we have the accounts with LinkedIn and Facebook already, but then looking at Monster, Career Builder, Handshake, all of these other platforms that we don't have presence on, and there are job seekers on those platforms looking for opportunities that we have available. And a lot of that is the educational piece as well of what all departments the city and county has, and just educating people on what all we have to offer and the benefits as well. That's not something we've really communicated outwardly of what these benefits look like. And it's, you know, Nicole's put a lot of work into making sure it's a very competitive and robust benefits program that we do have to offer candidates. So I think we should be marketing that more and sharing that information with people before they would get to the offer stage as a, to attract them to our positions and why to work for us as an organization. So.
Are career fairs part of that?
Yes, yeah. So I have assigned one of my team members specifically to be the outreach specialist, and they are focusing on really measuring what events would make most sense for us to be present at. We've had some trial and error. We put on walk-in hiring events, and then also been present at career fairs starting last year, and looking at how do our applications go up. Once we go to these events, is it something that we can demonstrate, yes, this had a successful impact on our level of applications in this specific area. So we've had success in some areas and not so much in others. We are kind of doing some trial and error to see what works best and what's going to make most sense for city and county at what events in the local and surrounding areas.
Good. One last question, do you mind,
Sure,
Roma?
no, go
So,
ahead.
and I don't know if this is for you or Nicole or for Barb, but you know, during our budget, the city's budget process, we talked about LPD and recruitment,
Yeah.
and at that time, the council was considering a line item budget for LPD recruitment. Is that where does that lie now that it's in HR? Or do you know that answer, or does Nicole or does Barb?
Is that something we can speak to that, Barb? Perfect.
No worries. So I think at the time we had talked about a greater partnership between ourselves and LPD, and we have started going to expanding our recruiting efforts as far as attending career fairs and career days, and targeting the college has when law enforcement's going to be there and things like that. We've also expanded into assisting, and this is April Kovar on her team, setting in with LPD as far as doing the specialty interviews and through their selection processes. So we are moving into that greater support to try to focus on how do we bring in those law enforcement candidates and really target getting that information out and increasing our exposure in the community around those things. So.
Concentrated effort, would you say, Barb?
I would say
Because
it's a concentrated effort. The other thing we never really did is, as Laura talked about, we were going to all these events. We never measured did it have an impact. So example is we went to Streets Alive, and it's great to be there because we are the face of Lancaster County and the city. But our whole purpose in being there is to then see, does that impact our candidate flow? Was that event something where we could attract and get our message out about the great opportunities we have? So we've started trying to measure what's the applicant flow before this event, like consistently, what's the applicant flow after these events, and starting to pinpoint what's working, what's not working, because I think that's important. So especially when we step into law enforcement stuff, we have to be able to measure, okay, we did this targeted thing, and we went to, let's say it's UNL Career Fair Days, and we specifically talked to the university about how can we get in front of your people who are criminal justice majors and get them information and awareness. And then what we need to do is measure the impact of that. Did it work? Are we able to attract from that? So we're spending our time and energy and money in the right direction. We get all kinds of requests. to do different things, and some of them we found they just don't impact. And given the limited resources we have, we really need to make sure we're focusing on the right areas. So I don't know if that directly answered your
I'm
question.
just curious
but-
as to, how that had transpired, since we've had those discussions several times, and did not, in fact, fund when we would have a different line item. And it went to HR, and that's where it went, that was LPD's decision. So just curious as to how it's working. Yeah, so thank you.
Well, you're certainly bringing in a lot of different platforms, a lot of different programs, and trying new things. And so what'll be really good is to gather the data on the success of each one, to measure the outcomes, so,
Yep.
very good.
Well, Councilwoman Ward, perhaps we should ask Cody. Cody, you have a criminal justice degree. Have you ever thought about LPD? How's the time, my friend?
On the spot.
Yeah, it's funny. I had aspirations to join the SWAT team and all of that, and then
You
Not
can
too late.
still do that.
Not too late.
my first day I was taking a tour around, and I think I saw the construction. I was maybe getting recruited. I don't know. I was told
Usually
that
last night,
I was
you
still
know.
young enough to.
I
to
apologize.
jump in.
I had to go there. It's too easy.
Nothing like putting someone on the spot.
So you talked about the metrics, and I do want to just talk to that just a little bit, because I love data and I love numbers, because I think it helps us tell our story, right? And we have to step into how do we measure some of those things. So we started with some rough numbers of just what we're doing in an accomplishments PowerPoint that I'm 95% done with, that can be shared with both city and county as soon as I get that finished. The other thing is we are finishing the last touches of a strategic plan, which we also fully want to share. I think a big part of where I'd like to go is more transparency into what we're doing and what's the impact of that. And this year it's really about setting some real simple baseline data points that we're starting to collect so we can start to share some of that. I'm hoping next year in 2024 we're going to have a little more robust metrics to share with you, but this year it's really, I want to do a million things, and I simply do not have enough bandwidth to get all of those done.
Well,
So-
you're fairly close to 1 million, I think.
Well, I
so.
try hard.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Joe Farley. I am the Learning and Organizational Development Division Leader. And under my area, what we do, big picture is thinking of organizational change. And a lot of that goes down to learning and development of our people. And diversity, equity, inclusion, which is also one of the things that are in my area. And we are looking at ways that we can basically create an employee-centric culture, improving the experience of our employees, from the new employees that Laura's helped sourcing to, specifically new leaders, our current leaders, giving them the tools that they need to serve those who serve our community and help them do that well, so that we can ultimately become, I think the goal of all my colleagues as well is to become an employer of choice and to really just be the place that everybody wants to come work. And my area is to focus on, the training and development and creating that culture. So that's what we do.
Actually, you mentioned about being the employer of choice,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one of the strategic objectives, one of the objectives of our
Yes.
strategic plan. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Scriven, and I'm the Employee Engagement Division Leader. And my team, I have their title is Senior Business Partners, and so they are each assigned to specific city or county departments. And so essentially what our team does is we really focus and partner with the leaders, with the department heads and all of the leaders within each department to really be good consultants, coaches to them relating to their people strategies, if there's something relating to performance or how they want to communicate things to their team, working on change, as helping them be good change agents, anything with if there's discipline related, if it's contract related. So really anything partnering with the leaders, and we do have a lot of focus, the same as all of our team, but especially Joe and I, we have a really close focus on that employee engagement and employer of choice. That's why my division title is called employee engagement. But we focus more with the leaders to help them with that new strategy to help create the culture from the leadership perspective. Also, we're involved in contract negotiations. So as our labor contracts come up for renewal, we're a partner with that, with our internal and external legal counsel, and the rest of our HR department, and of course the union representation as well. And so we do investigations if there's some internal investigations, complaints, concerns, those types of things. We are conducting those internal investigations and giving recommendations and outcomes from that as well.
Mm-hmm. You have a lot of things that you have to cover, and they're difficult sometimes. So
They sometimes are, and it's really rewarding in the end, because we can recognize that out of whatever those difficult situations are, we can have a positive impact within the leadership structure, which then would go to the entire team, and in the end, the citizens that our team is serving.
thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
That is my fabulous team. If you have any other questions, I will try to answer them.
Any questions?
No.
I don't think so, but thank you for coming, and thank you for presenting, and we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate what your team is doing.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next step is, and we're right on the button, just about, the update on the Public Building Commission projects. We're waiting with bated breath. When the,
Excellent timing.
Wonderful. Good morning. Thank you, counselors and commissioners, for inviting me to your meeting. I like to show up anyway and sit in the back, but I think this is the first time I've had the chance
we
to
thought you
present.
needed to
from the
come
com-
front and
Did
center.
I? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Roma. I appreciate that. I have two parts to my title. You can't jam it all on a card. It is the Director of Facilities and Properties for Lincoln and Lancaster County, but I'm also the Administrator for the Public Building Commission, so we work within a lot of different fund groups. So the three projects that I was asked to speak on today a little bit kind of cross those lines. Some is Lancaster County stuff, some is Public Building Commission stuff. So we are, big surprise, remodeling the city-county garage underneath the building. And it has been a little history on the project. This has been something that, well, I was approached when I took this job 6.5 years ago. Would you be interested? Or given a little history about there was interest in this, but there was not a real consensus that this is a route that we should be going. So there were some few notes sitting in a dusty file folder on my shelf, and I've got lots of dusty file folders. It's good. It's great information, though. And I started asking and pretty much received universal support that we are in a very different place than we were a few years ago, and that adding security measures to that underground garage would probably be a good idea. So we're in the middle of the project right now. This was also done, this design was done as a collaboration with security, with building security. The Lancaster County Sheriff's Office is in charge of this campus security, and Captain Jerry Whitty and I collaborate on a lot of different things. And it was really important that they be integral in this design. This is his training. I don't have security training. I've got the building. And so it's been a fun process, actually. I've learned a lot. A lot of this stuff's like, well, that's a little too much. But it's been fun to go back and forth with the plans, and that's why the design, we took some time. We took some time with this design to try to get it right. So the total price tag for this project is about $324,000, which in today's dollars is pretty reasonable. When we first looked at starting this project, based on where we are now, you plug in the accelerators, and this is pretty much right on the money. So the design team that's actually that put this together for us was the ones that originally looked at it about 6 or 7 years ago now. So we've got a completion date, and don't let this scare you, of the middle of June. Really the only longer lead time that we've experienced is the fencing that's going to go around the openings. So the garage can still function as the garage still function up until that time, but the contract end date won't be in probably until the middle of June. I'm going to talk about the doors, and I will say, first, I was here this morning bright and early, and they were both keyed open like they should have been. I came in just a while ago. The enter door is down. It worked perfectly with my credentials, and I'm going to guess that it doesn't work perfectly with others. So that's what I've been texting on all morning long since.
Lucky lady.
No. I'm in the right place, right? I hear it firsthand. I don't have to wait for calls and emails to come in, so there's no delay. But I did not. I did not know.
I got in just fine.
That's the way that we had the door groups. We're ready to go. We were just making sure that the sensor was adequately placed, and we've called security. They also didn't know that that door was coming down. That is no excuse. But that was a surprise to me too. So we will find some answers for you.
Good.
We also did. I thought, oh, good. I'll just lead with this project. Just lead.
It's a
with
very
this.
serious door.
That's
Yeah.
First I inconvenience you by waiting for the coldest, iciest part of the year and say, oh, now you have to find a new place to park. So I appreciate all your patience and your tolerance with us. I still think that the decision to close it down on the 19th of December was a good one.
It was a good one.
We just, there were a lot of people vacationing. There was a lot of empty parking stalls. So I'll stick with that, but this morning we'll get it worked out. We also, in-house, self-performed an LED lighting upgrade in the garage, too. I have a master electrician on staff, and he said, this would be a great project. And I said, well, I was going to ask you, but now that it's your idea, it's even a better idea. So we've got that. We do have ways of tracking what these upgrades are doing for us. Just kind of as an aside, the Public Building Commission does utilize a third party that takes a look at all our energy usage. They look at our costs. They looked at the amount. They can go back historically. They can look at trends. We meet on a quarterly basis or more often if I need to. Sometimes they see trends before I can see trends, which is great. But electrical usage, there is a difference when you do the LED upgrades, and I know I'm speaking to folks that are well versed in that, but it is trackable stuff. So I'm pretty excited that we got that, and we got that done over Christmas. Nobody even knew. It was great. Also, before we even got started on the project, about a year and a half ago, we upgraded security panels, one for this building and one for the Hall of Justice to handle the bandwidth of additional security features that, certainly as we do build-outs, we're adding, but we are even being asked ahead of build-outs for additional security features. Card reader access to doors is a primary one. We are being asked to protect service counters, an area that historically have been out there for anybody to come in, and they're very accessible. And so rather than wait to get to the end of, oh, now we need a panel, we went ahead and installed a couple of panels. So we're going to have 3 extra security doors in the garage hooked up to the new panel, which is great. I will say it's going to control some access for anybody, from staff, from the public, from anybody from getting into that garage unless you have specific access to be in the garage. There'll be a door on the outside of the garage. I know law enforcement comes around the back side of that building and comes into the garage. They'll have a card reader on a door there. We will have one on the other end of the garage. We need to have emergency egress as well. And then there are card readers that go either into the stairwell that can come up to this building and then maybe across the walkway to the other buildings. And there's a card reader on the door that accesses the mailroom hallway, so you can kind of shoot through that hallway and hit the sidewalk out there. It's going to be, not anybody can just pass through all those doors anymore. We're going to keep that locked down. And we've worked with some of the door groups, but ultimately, what groups get in and out of that garage will be the decision that's going to be made by building security. They have to they're responsible for those door groups, so they will be doing it. So that'll be a little bit of a change. We will telegraph these moves, as opposed to now today you can't get into the garage and cut across to the 911 hallway, for instance. There will be certainly people that will have access to do that, but not everybody. My concern about the 911 access hallway outside of law enforcement, they have their own stuff. But for me, it is a lot of traffic that cuts catty corner, and, you know, we're all pretty polite, careful people, but I really don't want anybody to get hit doing that catty corner thing. It's just, it's not great. And it's really busy. I was here this morning at about 20 of 8, and it is a super highway. I mean, there's just a lot of people entering through that way. So, and then we have to have ways to make sure that people can get where they need to go, and that it's not difficult. There are going to be people that are going to have to walk a few extra steps. There are always accommodations upon request that can be made too. And we can certainly handle that with building security as well. So anybody that needs in will be able to get in. The fencing is just going to go around the outside. We opted for going that route as opposed to do the total enclose, which means I'd have to completely redo the ventilation system. That seemed a bit overkill, so we are just going to fence it in. It is a terrific barrier. It's certainly a whole lot better than we have now, and we do have cameras on the exterior of the buildings as well that we can monitor. So I say we, building security monitors that. I don't have access to the cameras. And that's going to be, you know, it's glorified chain link fencing with some colored coating on it. And who knew that? I don't know if it's the coating or the fencing. I think it's the coating that's out there a ways, and why we have to wait till the middle of June. The tunnel will remain open. You can come through the tunnel. Now, some of you would have access to get into the garage. Some of you are going to go up that stairs and then out to the walkway to go over to the Hall of Justice or to get in the building. Those with accessibility issues, upon request for that accommodation, could have access to get into the elevator bank in that hallway that has the mail room and where the elevator bank is. So we're not excluding people, but that's how we plan to handle that. And I just thank you again for for letting me disrupt everybody in this room. I do appreciate that.
Wanted.
That's very true.
You don't that people wanted, and you know, we were able to work through it. And there's so many different aspects to that particular project.
Yeah, a lot of thought went into that. This was fun. This I learned a lot. I learned a lot with this one, so I appreciate that. I'll move on a little bit. K Street Records Warehouse, 440 South 8th Street. That's where purchasing is. It's where Lancaster County Records Management is. Used to be where the state of Nebraska had 3+ floors. County Risk is still over there as well. Just a brief history. K Street, that was purchased from LES. It was the old LES plant. Put floors in the middle. This was my predecessor's project, and the idea was certainly for county records, we needed to have the floor loads, the ceiling heights, and all that stuff for the county loads, but also the state of Nebraska had a need for their record storage. So he put together this project. We issued revenue bonds for this, and you know, it was a sweet deal while it lasted. They were with us for over 20 years. In my tenure here, they had a short-term renewal because the state of Nebraska knew that they were hoping to and received funding to build their own facility out north. So at that point, you have the question of, okay, do I go out and try to recruit a tenant, or do I listen to what the long-range city planners have been saying for years, and that is that building is really part of the South Haymarket Development Plan. Is it possible to relinquish that? Well, the timing was kind of good. Yeah. The PBC did a study in 2014. They said, nope, we need to keep this. Well, we have an updated facility study that Lancaster County allowed me to commission and put together, and it's even at the end of that study, it's saying between 2026 and 2030 that we can let this building go to private developers. Well, we took a look at it and said, yeah, I think the timing's right now. I've got 3 empty floors, and I'm not inclined to go out. I'll never get a long-term tenant again like that for 20 years. Just by happy coincidence, the portion of the bond group for the K Street was paid off in full last August, so there's no debt service remaining on that, so I'm not asking for anything. Let's see, the appraised value right now is $8.9 million. I have commissioned a or excuse me, that's the assessed value. I've got an appraisal that should be in any day now too. I'll probably have that for the March Public Building Commission. We can take a look at that.
Good.
I will also share that with the planning department so they can have those tools too.
Would you
so
repeat that number again? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Sure.
8.
The appraised value is about $8.9 million right now. And I've only got about 51,000 square feet occupied. So now my task is, well, what do I do with the people and the storage that is there? Everybody there that has any storage was notified 2 years ago that we are literally looking to start to make plans and this kind of thing. And I know LPD, who's got the biggest footprint for storage, is making plans for their products as well. So records management, this is the big one. And we are looking at the Municipal Services Center. We have been working with Liz Elliott's facilities manager out there for a few months now. In fact, I just spent yesterday afternoon out there with Brian and his people out there. We're down to a point where we've got enough space. Now we're working at the circulation. You know, this is a business I didn't know anything about at all until I started working on this. And keeping records management engaged in the entire process is really critical. But Liz has a facilities manager with all kinds of tools out there, and they self-perform some of their construction projects. So we are looking at end of design potential if this goes out for bid to construction by the end of July. By the end of July, we would have some documents for us. Let's see. Pardon me. County risk management and purchasing. Both groups know K Street is going away. I've started just some preliminary conversations. I certainly, before any of this got released, contacted them and city finance director. I don't like people reading or hearing about things that I'm doing that affects their lives. So I do try to telegraph those moves. Risk management is going to be fairly easy. They've only got about 900 square feet now. We will figure that out. I do have an idea for purchasing that I haven't presented to them yet, but I will tell you that both of those projects, putting together some new space for them, the design, the build out, that is the responsibility of the Public Building Commission. They are still going to be on this campus. So I haven't worked on the designs yet, but that is the plan. And when we firm it up a little bit and the occupants give me the thumbs up, I'll be sure and share that as well. So
You got to keep them happy.
well, sure, it's there. They have to come to work every day too. You bet. Let's see. All right, I'll move on to the last one, and I'm not going to step on Mr. Lakehamp's toes here because our Veteran Service Officer has the next presentation. Veteran Service Office, it is currently located at 605 South 10th. It's up on the 3rd floor in the back corner. It is a beautiful space. I think I can safely say the space itself functions very nicely. The layout was great. Great thought was put into the design. The issue or the challenge with that is that it's not a great location for veterans. The accessibility is difficult. On the parking on H Street that we have set aside for drug testing, we also have a couple of stalls that are dedicated for veteran services. And I drive by there every day, and most of the time those stalls are open, so it appears that people are being respectful of that. The challenge is that H Street sits like this, and then you have to come up on a sidewalk, and then you have public stairs to get to the entrance of the building, to the elevator. And then once you get up to the 3rd floor, you go way to the corner and have to follow the sign. I mean, it's a process to get the folks there, and that's a barrier. So I was approached, Commissioner Amundson, and said this is what we need to start looking at. So Veteran Services is moving out to Victory Park. This made sense as Aging Partners is finishing up. It's been fun. Now I get to work with both groups on their design a little bit. Not the design, but the construction as we go back and forth. This is a Lancaster County project. The price tag on it is $380,880 for construction. We expect completion by May 16th, and so far we haven't had any long delays.
Really?
Wow.
Mid-March?
Okay. This March? This is my contract.
Wow.
Nope, I have the completion date per the contract. That's where I got the note.
I think our plan is moving with Aging Partners in
Yep.
April.
the nice thing is that, you know, their location in the building is also kind of down a hallway, but when they enter in, they're going to enter in basically where Aging Partners is, and a live person is going to be there to be able to say, it's down the hallway, and they're not going to have to look at wayfinding, which is a science in itself.
And it's.
And it's flat,
It's flat.
yes, once you get to the building, so ample parking.
Ample parking.
A lot of good reasons, but to collate with Aging Partners, I think is a really great thing, so, yeah.
That's coming right along.
It is, it
Yeah.
is. It's great. I don't have anything else that I prepared, but I would sure take any questions that you might have.
I'm just really excited about how quickly that's moving along.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Karen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As what I mentioned to you is the fact, moving these pieces around, it's almost like a chess game, isn't it?
In my head every day.
In your head every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to be perfectly selfish, Madam Chair, just one moment. Karen, are you going to be around so that I can talk to you about my cards? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Mark Lakekamp. I'm the Lancaster County Veteran Service Officer and Director of the County Veteran Service Office. So I'll give you a kind of a brief overview of what we do, the services we offer, as well as our staff. So primarily, we exist to help veterans of Lancaster County and their families to access benefits that they have earned. The majority of our work is working with veterans and their families for filing with the Department of Veterans Affairs for primarily disability-related benefits, for surviving spouses and dependent children, either burial benefits or a dependents indemnity compensation for service-connected deaths. We do work a little bit with the Veterans Health Administration, helping veterans access that. However, we primarily are just getting them in the door, and then they work with the various folks at the VHA. We also work with the state of Nebraska to help our veterans access state benefits. There's the Nebraska Veterans Homes for any veteran. There are 4 facilities around the state, one in Norfolk, one in Kearney, one in Scottsbluff, and then one in Bellevue. And so any applications to the veterans homes has to go through either the veterans home itself, which are not necessarily co-located for everyone, or a county veteran service office. And so it's a fairly involved process to apply for that. So we help veterans, their families make those applications. We also work to help veterans who are undergoing a financial emergency apply for Nebraska Veterans Aid. Nebraska Veterans Aid Fund is a state fund for unplanned emergencies for veterans to help them get through a rough time. A lot of times it is rental assistance, short-term rental assistance, power, water, gas, that type of thing. And mostly what we seem to be doing recently is burial assistance for veterans who die without the ability to finish up their last affairs. We also administer the County Veterans Aid Fund, which is separate from the state fund. It's a little more, there are different rules for eligibility. For the state Veterans Aid Fund, you just have to be a veteran who has served on active duty for at least 1 day. The County Veterans Aid, which I think predated the State Veterans Aid Fund, actually requires you to be a wartime service veteran. So there are a variety of service periods that the legislature has defined as wartime service. And you also have to be a resident of Nebraska for a year and the county for 6 months. So it's a little narrow aperture for folks who are eligible for that. However, we have the ability to do things that the State Veterans Aid Fund does not, primarily that's paying past due bills. So if a veteran gets a gas or electrical power shutoff notice because they're past due, the state is not able to pay those past due bills for whatever reason, the way their fund is set up. So that seems to be where we primarily focus on, is working with veterans who are really in extremis with their power or their water or gas bills. As I said before, the majority of our time is spent on helping veterans access VA benefits, primarily disability benefits. I spoke at a earlier Board of Commissioners meeting, just kind of looking at some of the data. There are over 17,000 veterans in Lancaster County. Those veterans receive in direct payments from the Veterans Administration, primarily disability compensation payments, over $108 million every year. And so our job is to essentially help veterans access those benefits, because it's not a simple process. It requires a lot of paperwork. You have to understand what the VA needs, help the veterans fill it out. And oftentimes the VA will initially say no. Usually not for the right reason, but either the veteran initially appealed or filed their claim incorrectly, didn't provide the right evidence, or in a lot of times the VA is just pushing so much paperwork through, they oftentimes make an incorrect decision. So we help a veteran who gets a denial of a benefits request. We'll go over with them, analyze it. Why was it denied? Is it an easy fix? Can we appeal it and move it forward? And a lot of times we're able to help a veteran out in getting those benefits that they've earned based on their service. One of the things you probably heard in the news recently is the PACT Act. That is something which has significantly increased, our customer throughput. So the PACT Act is a piece of legislation that was signed into law on August 10th. It does a variety of things. One thing it does is it goes back and fixes some problems with the Agent Orange compensation. So the VA, to be frank, has not covered themselves in glory over the last 40 years dealing with Agent Orange exposure. They've gotten better over time, but one area that was a significant problem was veterans, primarily Air Force veterans who served in various Air Force bases in Thailand were not automatically presumptively exposed to Agent Orange, although we used Agent Orange to keep the jungle beat back around those bases just like we did in Vietnam itself. But unless you were a security guard or somebody who actually worked on the perimeter of the base, the VA did not presume that you were exposed. Meanwhile, the Agent Orange was sprayed everywhere and drifted all over the camp. And there were a lot of veterans who had their claims denied for that. That legislation fixed that. So now anybody who served in Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, the island of Guam, because, and again, a very jungle-y kind of island where we have taken, a lot of we use Agent Orange up until the mid-'80s in Guam to keep the jungle away from the perimeter. So there are a lot of veterans who either served in the Air Force Navy who spent time in Guam who are also presumptively exposed to Agent Orange. And then finally Johnson Atoll, which is a small island in the Pacific where, again, some veterans had served from time to time. So those folks are now automatically presumed to have been exposed to Agent Orange. They have a variety of presumptive conditions for Agent Orange. The VA will grant their claim. The other thing it did with Agent Orange was it added hypertension or high blood pressure as a presumptive condition. So when you think about the veterans who served in the 60s and 70s, they're now in their 60s and 70s, and a lot of them do have hypertension. So that's a new claim that they can file for, and so we're seeing a lot of that coming through. As well as the word gets out, perhaps veterans who had a bad experience with the VA in the past are reconsidering, they're coming back in and filing for claims. We've seen a lot of that. The other thing the PACT Act did was it tried to get things right with our Gulf War veterans and the variety of toxic exposures that were have been pretty, presumptive or have been pretty conclusively proven to have veterans exposure in a variety of countries in the Persian Gulf area, Southwest Asia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and a whole host of countries we've been operating out of since 1991. So what the PACT Act did was it established places and dates where if a veteran served either in the country, in the water, in the airspace, they're presumptively exposed or presumed to be exposed to a variety of environmental toxins, which is sometimes called burn pits. There were the burning oil wells, just the sand and dust in the atmosphere, just a whole host of things. They basically said, we're not going to try and figure all these out, and you were serving here, so you had this toxin or that toxin. We're just going to put a blanket statement out there and say if you served in these countries from these dates, and they're relatively easy to figure out. We'll presume a variety of cancers and some other disorders or disabilities are caused by that, which then will allow the VA to fine for the veteran. Over time, they're trying to figure out, okay, so what we don't know exactly what disabilities we can link to that, and so they're taking data as well. And so any veteran who served in those areas is invited to get toxin screening by the VA so they can be tracked, and then over time the VA will see, well, okay, we found out that maybe we didn't have all the right conditions listed, and we'll add some more, which is kind of what they did with Agent Orange. Over time, studies determined, well, veterans exposed to Agent Orange have a much higher risk for hypertension, coronary disease, prostate cancer, a variety of other things. I think the VA's plan is to do the same thing with these various Gulf War toxins. So over time, those conditions will be increased. And the act gave the VA the permission, or the Secretary of the Veterans Administration, permission to add to those lists as necessary. So I think the VA is trying to do better now with our current veterans than they did with our Vietnam veterans. So who we are, there are 5 people in the office besides, 4 besides myself. We have, and we're all veterans, or our veteran service specialist, who's our receptionist, our secretary, our personnel clerk, and basically, you know, keeps us all on track, is the husband of a deceased veteran. There's myself, and then we have Jason Meyer, who is a Army National Guard veteran. We have Mark McDonald, an Army veteran, Sue Bauman, who's an Air Force veteran, and then myself, I'm a retired Navy veteran. I'm just going over a few things. I addressed the PACT Act pretty well. You know, how can we help you? Basically, if you are a veteran or know a veteran, and you think you may be eligible for some benefits, we can answer those questions. We do a lot of research when a veteran, you know, has a question that, you know, most of the time we've seen before. Sometimes we have a situation we haven't, and we'll find an answer for that veteran. You know, we are, you know, folks who exist to help veterans and families out. Unfortunately, a lot of that comes when a veteran passes away, and then their family's trying to figure out, what do I need to do just to get a flag at my funeral? I can't find my spouse's DD-214. We can locate that for them. Burial benefits from the VA are sort of complicated as far as what a veteran may be eligible for. We can help the family understand what's there. And then when it comes to a veteran, just understanding what they are potentially eligible for with their own benefits, we can answer those questions. So basically, if you know of a veteran and they have questions, we're the folks who can provide that one-stop shop for them to get those questions answered. So as Karen said earlier, we are located at 65 South 10th Street on the 3rd floor. We'll be moving to Victory Park in the old VA hospital, kind of back around the back in the old ambulance entrance. So it is a nice flat, no stairs required. They're doing a nice job. We'll have a similar layout for offices there as we do here. And as I said earlier, we're looking to move in conjunction with the Aging Partners move, because we can't. We'll probably be done before their construction is done, just based on some of the longer lead time items. But we can't move in until they move in, since they kind of have the access control there. And people probably couldn't find us in A without them in front. So. So any questions that you ladies and gentlemen may have, I'm standing by to answer.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your service, first of all, and for being here. And I should remember, but I don't. This is just an overall broad question for the state. Does every county have a VSO? Do they not? Or in general?
Yes, some of the smaller counties will combine. We'll have a VSO. We'll do, you know, a few days a week in one county, a few days a week in another county, just depending on how many veterans they have in their counties. A lot of the western, smaller population counties will have one VSO for 2 or 3 different counties. But that is the way that Nebraska has it set up. And there's probably about 2/3 or 3/4 of states have a similar situation in place. Some states only work at the state level, but Nebraska does go to the county level. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Is Jim Chada still like the umbrella for some, or how does that?
He is. So the Veterans Service Committee is, I guess, half of my boss. The other half would be Commissioner Amundsen and her folks on the county board. But the Veterans Service Committee is made up of 5 veterans, and they technically, administer and oversee the County Veterans Aid Fund, although really they delegate that to our office to run and maintain.
Sure.
And we've got a series of standard operating procedures and guidelines that we use to meet their intent for who is eligible for Veterans Aid and how we apportion that out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. Great presentation.
Okay, yes.
I'm with the city, so I know that I don't have a direct relationship to VSO, except for you've given me so much great information. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
And I can honestly say that I have utilized the benefits of the VSO.
General.
And so, really, thank you for all that you have done and are doing.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Mhm.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. All right, we're down to number 6, the adjournment, but I do want to make a special announcement here too. We, as mentioned, we don't have a quorum, and so I will continue as chair. It is my suggestion, and I need to have input from y'all. I think that the decision should be that we will have our next common meeting when we do have kind of on an ad hoc basis, when we have common solutions, common situations that we want to discuss. Rather than having it quarterly, that we go to an ad hoc basis. So how do you all feel?
I think that sounds more than fair, Commissioner, and would be happy to support that change as well.
Okay?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I know that this has been a great agenda. Thank you, Commissioner, for putting this together. Madam Chair, I know in the past we've not struggled, but we've really been with agendas. It's been sort of a proactive approach instead of as needed. So I like the ad hoc situation much better. So I think that's a good idea. And since I'm talking, I just want to take a moment to thank my city council colleagues. Everybody that's in town was here today, and Councilman McGinnis and Councilwoman Suarez are out of town. But so thank you, everybody, for being here. And I know Councilman Bowers had to leave for an 11:30 meeting. So I just wanted to thank, I'm so proud of the city council for all being here.
Thank everybody who was here.
Yeah, and our shoes were still warm from last night. So that's what I wanted to, anyway.
Okay.
So I think it's a good idea. So thank
Okay.
you.
If that's all right, then that's the way that
This
we will.
way.
Yes.
I do have one concern. I do agree that, for me, the scheduling aspect of it, knowing it's quarterly, I can prepare for it quarterly, but often we have nothing for an agenda. As opposed to, whereas the ad hoc, do we have the time to pivot when something comes up? And I need you guys to tell me we can handle that. We're adults, we're grown-ups. If something comes up in a hurry, we can pull a meeting together fast enough.
I think we can, and we will show up.
Yeah.
As evidence today.
So
I
that's
think
not a real
so.
concern. Please remain calm, all is well, right?
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
that's
I
right.
believe so.
Sandra?
I have a not quite identical to Councilman Shoeb's concern, but I want to make certain that even though we would be ad hoc, that we have that there is some concerted effort that we will meet twice a year. I think that we owe it to the public, the community, to be able to say, we may be meeting on an ad hoc basis, but we will meet at least twice a year, or whatever the minimum is, so that they know that there is an opportunity for them to witness what we're doing.
Okay. I think that we can do that.
We'll discuss that at our next meeting.
That's absolutely right.
Very good.
Okay. I guess, we can adjourn.
So moved.
Can you
I
even
can
make a
declare
motion to
adjournment.
adjourn?
Oh, well, probably not. I don't think so.
I don't think
I
we're
retract
officially
that.
open.
Yeah. It's not up for discussion.
It's not up for discussion, no. Okay,
Great
we are-
meeting,
Yeah, we are
Commissioner.
adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you, General.